Hello to everybody who is listening to this streaming podcast. Welcome once again to episode 12 of the Neowin Gaming Podcast. It's Tuesday, March 27th, and this is John Callahan. With us, as always, is Larry Cooney. How you doing, Larry?
Hello, hello. How you doing, John?
Good, thank you. And taking on our technical duties once again from Australia is Tim. How you doing, Tim?
Hey guys, I'm doing pretty good. Just trialing out a new program today that should allow video streaming at some point. Don't know when we're going to do that, but something to think about for the future. So
we
it's always nice.
We definitely are going to do some video streaming in the future with this new program. So hopefully it will work out pretty well. So it was actually a fairly busy week in terms of news in the past several days. We can talk about quite a few things, discuss a few things. We can definitely talk about the launch of Angry Birds Space, which is perhaps the single biggest game launch for the past week by far. It launched just a few days ago, and supposedly it's already downloaded 10 million times already in the past few days. That's pretty amazing. It launched on Thursday on both on iOS, on Android, and also for the PC and Mac. Usually the PC and Mac kind of get second shrift on the game Angry Birds. But for Angry Birds Space, they released it all at the same time. And that's pretty. I actually played Angry Birds Space for a few levels on Friday, and actually I quite enjoyed it. I was not expecting that the zero gravity portion of the game was going to be as much fun as I thought, and it actually adds quite a bit to the normal Angry Birds gaming experience. And makes for some very interesting gameplay levels. What did you? I know you played it, Larry. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought the same as you. It was a lot better than I thought it'd be. It's actually really fun. I mean, I always thought the first one was pretty good fun as well, and they really did step it up. They pretty much probably could have just made Angry Birds 2 and been done with it, but instead they tried something new, and it really paid off. So I look forward to playing it some more myself. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I have downloaded it though, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. I've heard that the zero gravity stuff is pretty cool, and it has just awesome reviews in the Android market. I think better than the other games, so definitely something for me to check out this week. Yeah.
Yep. I think we mentioned in a previous podcast, this is going to be the first of 5 Angry Birds games that Rovio is going to be releasing in 2012. So if they're as good as this game, all as good as this game, I think we're going to have a very, very good gaming year for Angry Birds fans.
Wow, 5?
Wow.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. A couple other developments on the Angry Birds and Rovio front. If you checked out Neowin for the past couple of days, you probably saw that there was a little bit of a controversy about whether or not Angry Birds Space would be released for a Windows Phone. At one point, it sounded like that it wasn't coming out, and then we got a response from another Rovio team member says that they are in fact going to be bringing it bringing it to Windows Phone at some point. And I guess that just touches on the fact that Windows Phone is still kind of struggling a little bit to get major apps, including gaming apps, for its mobile OS. And I'm sure that Microsoft would love to be able to get some kind of exclusive major games like a new Angry Birds game first for its smartphone, like they've done with the Xbox 360 and Xbox Live Arcade, where they like to debut games on those platforms before anyone else. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think we'll see Microsoft make a bigger push to try and get more games for Windows Phone?
Yeah, I mean, the gaming experience on Windows Phone is pretty good. I mean, I've reviewed a couple of phones, and I love the Xbox Live integration and everything there. You can download your apps and have that count to your achievements. So Microsoft's really hit on something good with Windows Phone gaming, but the thing is, with 1% market share, or roughly that, it's really hard to get developers on board when like Android has like over 50%, you've got iOS with 30% market share. It doesn't have the same reach, so it's sort of, they need an incentive from Microsoft to actually develop these games, and I think they do need to invest a bit of money, and I think recently there was some news that they might be, but it's definitely something that Microsoft needs to look into to improve the gaming experience.
Certainly, Microsoft has the cash in hand to make exclusive deals with major game developers like Rovio and others to get exclusive games for Windows Phone, and I think that would certainly be to their advantage, because right now they're pretty much starting with almost no market share for Windows Phone. It's starting to improve a little bit, and it'll probably improve a little bit more once the Lumina 900 for Nokia is released later in April. But they still got a very deep hole they have to dig themselves out of, and I think they need to do some spending of their money to get that done.
Yeah, and also when Windows Phone 8 Apollo comes out later in the year, and you get the improved hardware, you can get the improved games as well and everything, and I think we'll definitely see a big push for high quality 3D games that make use of the Xbox achievements on Xbox Live, and I think that a lot of people will really appreciate that, so that is definitely something to look out for.
I think what they really need to do is make it so eventually the phone plays the same games that Xbox Live Arcade plays. That would be the big home run for them, Like, you purchase the game on Xbox Live Arcade and you could continue playing it on your phone. That would be a success, I think. But I don't know. I think
developing
Microsoft has a long way to go.
Yeah, I think developing that actually. I know that Sega is coming out with a Sonic game that will be released on both Windows Phone, and you'll be able to save your progress and play it again on the Xbox Live arcade version. So they're starting to work with that interoperability a little bit, slowly but surely. And
there you go.
So and like you said, once Windows Phone 8 comes out later this year, which is supposed to be based on the regular Windows 8 kernel, we'll probably see even more of that interoperability show up. So we'll see.
Then they might have a chance. If that doesn't happen, I think I unfortunately think Windows Phone is doomed if they don't come up with something like that. They're facing a rough market there.
Without a doubt, they've got a lot. They got a lot of work to do, but again, I think that they're on the right track. They just need to keep pushing. The other major news from Rovio that actually happened this morning, they announced they're buying Futuremark Game Studio, which is the division of Futuremark, which made the 3D Mark benchmarking software. Now, the 3D benchmarking software company, Futuremark, is still there. They're still going to be developing those. It's just that their game studio and their employees have been bought by Rovio. They released a actually quite cool little game a couple years ago called Shattered Horizon for the PC, which was a space-based zero-gravity first-person shooter. Which
it was actually very good.
I actually quite enjoyed it, but it apparently didn't sell as well as expected. And they also released a couple of other games, smaller games. And last year they actually released a video which showed 3 games coming out from Futuremark. The third of which was a pretty cool-looking hardcore, space shooter game. But as I was just checking the Facebook page, and it looks like that Futuremark has announced that game has in fact been canceled, thanks to Rovio buying them. So that's too bad. I was looking forward to having another good space shooter game to try out, but who knows? Maybe Rovio will release something similar to that with the team. So, oh well.
Yeah, that seems like a weird purchase to me, because, I mean, other than that game, the one that you Shattered, what was it, Shattered Horizon?
Shattered Horizon,
Yeah, other than that game, I can't really think of any other game that they made. You said that they've made a couple smaller
They
ones,
made a
but I
couple.
could.
They made an iOS game, and they also played. They also made a tower defense game, a kind of a 1950s B movie parody, a tower defense game.
Okay.
But I think they really bought the team for the employees more than the games and
Right.
the game hardware, because
For the
Rovio is
potential.
expanding like crazy. Yeah, and so they need to have more people on board to keep making all those other Angry Birds games that they're going to be making soon.
To make millions of dollars.
Right.
Pretty much.
So- Yeah. Quite a few. If you live in the UK or Ireland, it's certainly not been a good a past few days. If you enjoy buying games from retail stores, we've mentioned this on the website already, but the Game Group, which handles game and the Game Station retail stores, announced last week that they were going into administration, which is the UK equivalent of bankruptcy. And this week they announced that they were closing 277 stores in the UK and Ireland, and unfortunately laying off over 2,000 of their employees as the administrator tries to find somebody to buy the rest of the game stores. There's still over 300 retail stores that are still in operation that will continue as normal. One bad thing is that if you own a game gift card, it's pretty much useless. They pretty much said they're not going to accept any more gift cards. So if you have a $50
Wow.
or a £50, I guess the equivalent gift card, it's done, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be any way to redeem that, at least not anytime soon. I'm not familiar totally with what Game situation was financially. I'm not quite sure what happened. I don't know if there was poor management on that, or it was just simply that people just didn't want to come in and buy any more games from the retailer. But certainly, I think it does show that in some ways that the face of gaming in terms of buying them is shifting from the retail brick and mortar stores to perhaps a more downloadable online experience. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, we have Game here somewhere. We used to have a store in my town, but it disappeared. So obviously, I don't think they're doing well internationally either. So, it is disappointing to see that when a company shuts down because of retail sales. And I do think that the future is going to be digital gaming. So I don't know. I guess it's just a bit tough luck for these companies, and they need to sort of think of a new market strategy that could see them get back in the game, so to speak.
Huh, no
Yep.
pun intended.
No pun
Yeah.
was intended.
But I actually, obviously I don't have any familiarity with them, but I would see a lot of the members on the forums say a lot that they were just overpriced, that, they weren't competitive with the pricing, and I don't know how true or not that is, but that was usually the big beef with them. So, it sounds like they might have actually been their own worst enemy, so to speak. So, it happens. You have to price competitively nowadays with things like Amazon. Even if people don't do downloadable stuff, you still have Amazon with the good prices for retail. So, it's a competitive market, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Well,
not sure what
we're
else to say.
we're seeing more and more how Amazon has a downloadable store where you can download PC games. GameStop is experimenting with that. They've got their own downloadable store for PC games, and they're supposedly working on a streaming game solution that will stream a console game similar to what OnLive does. So there are efforts to move in that downloadable and streaming game space already, at least here in the U.S. So hopefully, while the retail stores might go away, those companies will probably still stick around in some form. So
Yeah.
it just seems very hard. But again, I think in terms of the game situation in the UK, I think they just didn't move as fast as these other guys did to recognize the fact that that this kind of business model isn't going to work anymore. So.
Yeah, and it's the same with bookstores as well, with the whole Kindle thing. They're also going under, so yeah, it's a market shift, definitely.
Yep. My Blockbuster store, my Blockbuster video rental store has been shut down just a couple of weeks ago, so that's gone. So yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised you still. My Blockbuster literally shut down like 4 years ago. Not even kidding. Yeah, no. I missed it, but yeah, it's been gone that long. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So so that's still going to continue to happen. There's been a couple of interesting rumors about either cancellations of games or shutdowns of game developers that have popped up in the last few days. One of them involves a Zipper Interactive, which is the development crew that is perhaps best known for the SOCOM U.S. Navy SEALs games that were actually big hits for Sony for the PlayStation 2 console. There was a rumor at Kotaku a few days ago that basically Sony, which owns Zipper Interactive, is about ready to shut down the studio after a planned game was canceled. They said that the shutdown would actually happen last Monday, but that obviously hasn't happened yet, at least not as of the recording of this podcast, so perhaps there's been some solution made. But I remember Zipper Interactive. They actually launched as a PC game developer. They created MechWarrior 3, and they later created the first Crimson Skies game for Microsoft, which I really enjoyed. I really liked that a lot. And then they switched over to becoming this this PlayStation exclusive game with the SOCOM games, and then they later made games for the PS3, including a big, 100 player first person shooter called Mag, which unfortunately I don't think sold as well as they had hoped. They weren't able to. Yeah,
Mag is literally my most criminally overlooked game of this generation. It was that. Yeah. I think it was that good of a game. It was a really good game. It was very
massively good. Multiplayer one, wasn't it? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah.
I never played that. I just don't know why.
Very good. I mean, the reason I don't think it did very well was it had very traditional mechanics. It didn't bring anything new to the first-person genre, so to speak. But I mean, it was incredibly solid and it ran great. Like I don't know what went wrong with that game. I really don't. It's, for all intents and purposes, it should have been a very successful game. And I have to say, like, to this day, it still has a very loyal following. There's still people playing on the servers in MAG. And the one thing I always thought that was really cool about it was it had a very cool community. Because I played the game for a good 50 hours, I would say. I was pretty into MAG.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And, yeah, without a doubt. And it had it was always a very cool community. It was, people played the game the way it was meant to be played and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think when I heard this news, I was a little upset myself because I think they've made some pretty good games, including the ones you were just going over as well. And not only that, Unit 13 they made too for the Vita, and and I'm really enjoying it as well. I mean, it's definitely a handheld game. There's no doubt about it, but it's pretty fun for what it is. So I'm not sure what happened there. I'm really not.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens. It's just life.
Yeah. Could have been someone didn't like someone.
I don't know. It's like I said. Maybe there's going to be possibly, since the shutdown hasn't been announced yet. Perhaps there's been some movement on that, and maybe we'll keep it going. But hopefully, we certainly will. Hopefully that Zipper Interactive will keep going, because it was at one time one of Sony's biggest internal development studios for the PlayStation 2, and again, it just didn't. Other teams like Naughty Dog kind of usurped it when the PlayStation 3 came around. So we'll see what happens with that. Another game that might or might not be in trouble is Prey 2, which I actually got to see both at E3 in June and also at QuakeCon in August. This is the sequel to the first-person shooter that was developed by Human Head Studios. It was originally the first game was actually released from 2K Games, but Bethesda Softworks actually bought the rights to the Prey franchise and contracted Human Head to develop a sequel, which is nothing like the original game, at least from what I saw in the live demos that I got a chance to see. It's basically just a big sprawling sci-fi first-person shooter game instead of the kind of the tight corridors with the portal trickery that was used in the first game. But apparently, there's rumors that Bethesda Softworks might actually shut down Prey 2 for some reason. One of the reasons for that is that a number of the team from Human Head were supposed to come to the Game Developers Conference a few weeks ago to talk about the game in a panel, and then Bethesda basically told them, sorry, you can't do that. You'll have to cancel the panels. And that's led to some speculation that there's going to be some major changes. I have to say, I really, when I saw the demos that I saw of Prey 2 made it look like a really fun and unique looking game. You were basically playing this bounty hunter. This human bounty hunter finds himself on an alien planet, and you're using your tracking abilities to find targets. And the gameplay looked pretty cool. It looked a little bit different than your normal first-person shooter. So if this game is going to be canceled, I'm not really going to be happy to hear that, because I was looking forward to playing this game.
Yeah, I was just looking at the screenshots here. It does look pretty good, at least the images I'm seeing here on GameSpot.
Yeah.
So,
it's using id Software's id Tech 4, a variation of id Software's id Tech 4 engine, which they use for Doom 3. So
yeah, it looks
but I'm actually
cool.
It actually looks pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, I hadn't really been following much Prey 2 news. It's one of those games that it didn't really attract that much attention from me, I guess. But looking at the screenshots, I'm disappointed that if it was be cancelled, I want to play it. It looks pretty good. So.
Oh yeah,
I liked the first
Definitely.
one. I thought the first one was decent. It wasn't like great, but I played it and beat it. I thought the whole portal thing was a nice little twist. So it's weird to me though that you said this second one had nothing to do with the first one, really.
Well, it does in a way. I mean, there is a connection with the first and the second one in the very beginning of the game. Basically, you may remember in the first game you saw an airplane crashing inside the alien spaceship. The character in the main character of the second game is actually on that airplane, and he crashes. And basically, they don't explain exactly how this happens, but later he finds himself several years in the future as a bounty hunter, as a human bounty hunter roaming around. So so there's a small connection, but this is basically an all new game with an all new setting and pretty much all new gameplay mechanics. None of the portal stuff apparently, but again, it will hopefully. Unfortunately, when asked about this, Bethesda Softworks said they couldn't comment on the cancellation rumors, which is never a good sign.
No.
Yeah.
I emailed Bethesda a few weeks ago about the rumors that Doom 4 was going to be canceled, and they said flat out, Doom 4 is not canceled. And so when they said that they have no comment, that's not a good sign.
You'd think that it would.
Yeah, definitely not.
You'd think it was far along in development, though. Like you'd think that it's fairly close to completion. Like
I think it's pretty far along in development. Yeah.
So you would think, why would they? They've obviously spent a lot of money. So why would they cancel it? I mean, it's just an odd choice. Odd choice.
I don't know. They've done this before, though. Bethesda Softworks has done this before. I remember a few years ago they developed Rogue Warrior, and they had Zombie working on it, developing it, and they had a big press event at which I actually attended, in which they showed the game off, and then nothing. No news at all for like a couple of years. And then they finally revealed the game again, and they had, for some reason, they decided to dump Zombie and put in another developer, Rebellion, and the final result was horrible. It was one of the worst games you could possibly have imagined for a major developer, and it got the worst reviews, and it sold nothing. And I'm like, why didn't they like the zombie version? The zombie version looked cool. Why did they decide to dump zombie and go with this other person, which developed a quite frankly a terrible product in the end? So I don't know. But anyway,
strange.
Bethesda's speaking of Bethesda, there's also some rumors that we may actually hear some news about an Elder Scrolls MMO game that is supposed to be announced perhaps sometime before E3. This has been a project that's probably been in the works for several years because Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax, launched ZeniMax Online Studios something like 5 years ago or even longer. But they've never revealed about what they've been working on. But the assumption has been it's been an MMO based on the Elder Scrolls franchise. So we could have yet another World of Warcraft killer coming up to be announced in the very near future. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, not sure.
What do you think about an Elder Scrolls MMO game?
Nope, shouldn't be made.
Shouldn't be made.
It's a single player game. You don't turn those multiplayer. It'll ruin it. It's just poor choice.
If they do make it, they should make it so you could carry over any characters that you created in Skyrim or any of the other games. That would be a cool little twist, and I could see that getting people into it. But yeah.
Well, BioWare did make the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and then they made the MMO the Old Republic. So it's been done before, and obviously Blizzard did it with the Warcraft franchise, with World of Warcraft. So it's not exactly. This is nothing new. So I think it just depends on how well it's done.
Yeah, it'd have to be done really well because the single player games themselves are really good. So they have to. Still not convinced that it will be coming out.
Now, there's been an interesting little rumor that we didn't actually report on online because quite frankly, I find the actual source of the information dubious. But and you may have heard of this already, guys, but there's a person who posts on the Reddit site called MS Nerd who claims to have information about what is going on inside Microsoft. According to them, that Microsoft is supposed to be preparing a light version of the next Xbox that will be released sometime in 2013. I'm very dubious about this claim, but have you guys? First of all, have you guys heard about this claim? But and second, what do you think about it?
I think I saw a title of the thing that they were going to make a Lite console. I just thought that's probably not going to happen, considering all consoles really these days have been just the one product. Like when you buy an Xbox 360, it's just that. You can buy the accessories and all that, but it's just the one thing. So to come up with like a second Lite version or whatever, whether it has lower specs or something, it won't work. It's just not the console thing to do. So I don't think Microsoft will do it. I mean, MS Nerd himself is sometimes reliable with his stuff on like Windows and Windows Phone, so I wouldn't completely discredit what he says, but this one I think is wrong. But
yeah,
you never really know.
Yeah, he says that it's supposed to be revealed at E3 in this June, and Microsoft has already said they're not going to be talking about any kind of next generation hardware.
Well, technically, it's not next generation.
Technically, I guess they could. Technically, they're saying that this is going to be a $100 gaming console. It would play arcade style games. It would have an ARM processor inside. But it would be coming out in 2013. And then after that, we would get the true next generation hardware from Microsoft, I guess, in 2014 or 2015. Yeah, I would have to say that this rumor is not true.
Yeah.
It
doesn't make any sense.
To me,
Doesn't make any sense. No, to me either. I mean, why would they release a console that would compete with currently their great selling console? It makes no sense. It just makes absolutely no sense. I can't see it being true whatsoever.
Why not just lower the price of the Microsoft of the current Xbox 360? I mean, you could already get it for $199. I mean, that's pretty cheap already. And you can simply lower it even $50 would probably make a big boost in sales, I would think. So why develop another whole console with a whole and release it, in late 2013? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me.
Yeah, me either.
So we'll see about that. But it's like you said, they didn't say they were going to do next generation hardware, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's been quite a few developments in upcoming games for the free to play operations. Starbreeze Studios actually announced that they're going to be releasing a free-to-play game sometime in the future. This is, of course, the folks which made the original Darkness game, the Chronicles of Riddick games that were much better than the movies, and most recently the Syndicate first-person shooter. The announcement basically, I'm trying to find what the actual announcement I think they only announced a title, but they didn't actually announce what the game was going to be about.
It's an FPS though, right? It is an FPS.
I don't think they actually announced it's going to be an FPS. I think they just said it's going to be a free-to-play game, and then I think they're currently looking for developers. So
yeah, it says here on one site that I found, we are discussing with several leading game publishers on published finance games, but we will broaden our product portfolio of games in the new business model and segments that have arisen in the games industry. I'm convinced that Starbreeze will be successful with the new games, and this is obviously talking about their free-to-play games. So I don't think they've released really many details at all, but I'm just trying to find more on this.
I don't think they've released any details except for the title, which I can't find.
Oh, Cold Mercury.
Cold Mercury, what does that mean?
Cold.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
They also announced the City Interactive, which is perhaps best known for their Sniper Cold Warrior games. It has announced a free-to-play first-person shooter called World of Mercenaries, and there's a little bit more information about that. It's supposed to be player progression, teamwork, customizable weapons, and they showed some concept shots. It looks like it's going to be basically like a cross between Call of Duty with maybe a little bit of the Pandemic Mercenaries games, which I actually enjoyed quite a bit. It's supposed to be coming out later this year, and in fact, they're supposed to start the registration for the beta next week. So there's obviously they're getting ready to release this game. So we're seeing more and more of these free-to-play first-person shooters pop up. I don't know. I think we're starting to see a little bit of a saturation point because, quite frankly, how many of these games can this market possibly support?
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know. I like a few free to play person. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Quake Live. Have you ever played that?
Yeah. Yep.
I enjoy that. I mean, I think it's I enjoy my just good old fashioned corridor first person shooters, and I think that Quake Live is perhaps the most polished of those kinds of games. And of course,
and I think it had the Quake name, and it was basically almost a complete remake of the original Quake. So I think that's why they had something going for them. Where these other ones, they're trying new IPs in an already saturated market, in an already saturated pay market. You know, I think you could argue first-person shooters that people pay for is a little bit saturated right now. So to try, I don't know, it just seems like a really hard market to break into, especially with shooters. People tend to find one that works for them and stick to it, you know? So
yeah, exactly.
Right. So if there's so many options on these free-to-play ones, I don't see any of them having a large user base unless one is really, really good. You know, like a Tribes, for example, has the potential to have but all these other smaller ones, I think they might be in for a rude awakening and realize that even though on paper the whole free-to-play thing makes sense and they look like they make money, you can't just jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. You have to have a good product, you know?
Yeah.
I agree.
And for consumers like me, like, I hate freemium games, you know, the ones where it claims to be free to play, but actually, you know, it's got in-game purchases and all that, because it sort of ruins part of the experience for me having to think about, you know, oh, should I play the game, you know, trying to be the, you know, play it really awesome, or should I just, you know, cop out and buy stuff, or, you know, how much should I be spending on this game? I just want to just pay for it and be done with it, get all the features, get everything you could possibly have. So
yeah, I agree.
For people like me, I am not going to play this whatsoever. Even if the gameplay is good, I won't be playing it because I hate freemium games. So
I have to say, Tim, I play some freemium games in the past. I've never bought anything from their microtransaction stores, and I've never felt the need to. You know, I just enjoy the experience of playing a game that I didn't have to pay for legally.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, like a good example is this game World of Tanks. Like I think I've talked about in the past how on Battlefield I'm a big tank whore. I just love tanks, love anything to do with tanks, and I was so looking forward to this game because it was a game dedicated to tanks. It was like they made the game for me, you know? And
Sure.
I could not stand it because of all the reasons Tim just listed. Like it seemed like the only way I would have a fighting chance was if I spent money on the better tanks. And you know, I wound up not doing that, obviously, and it's just, I don't know, I'm with Tim on this one. There's something about it that just turns me off. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'd rather just flat out pay for a game if I know I'm going to like it than feel like I don't know, I almost feel like the whole thing is a gimmick, and I feel like they're ripping me off, and just part of me as a consumer is like, I'm not going to get ripped off. So it might be silly pride, or it might be, you know, I don't know what it might be, but I just want to pay for a game, like Tim said, that I know I'm going to like.
Yeah, it's also one of those things like, if you have to pay for, like, to end the game, that's also really annoying, because you get through playing the whole thing free, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, and then you get to the end, and you're like, oh, wait, I have to pay to unlock the last level? Like, what is this? I feel a bit cheated here.
I don't think that hasn't happened to me, but that would definitely annoy me if someone did that to me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm even happy to pay more than I would spend in the freemium, you know, business model. Like, I'm happy to pay, like, say I was going to spend $5 premium in freemium games. I'm happy to pay $10 for the game outright, just so I don't have to be bothered with all that crap. So, yeah, just not for me. Not for me.
I agree.
But
I wish him well.
Yeah, definitely. There's been some interesting developments on Ubisoft in terms of their DRM policy. Longtime PC gamers know that Ubisoft's DRM setups are pretty awful. They started these a couple of years ago, setting up so where you download and play a PC game, you actually had to have your game connected to the internet constantly, even if it was just a single-player game like the Assassin's Creed games. Some of the older Assassin's Creed games, you could not play it if your internet connection was on. But there was an interesting interview a few days ago with Ubisoft's digital gaming head, Chris Earley, who actually used to work at Microsoft, oddly enough. but basically he hopes that that he wants to. He made the pitch that he wants to give PC gamers more value so that the need for a DRM setup would, quote, go away. You know, and I'm trying to find the exact quote here. Let's see. He says that I don't think there's a perfect answer today. There are some technological answers, there are some design answers. There have been different approaches from different publishers at times. Some doing no DRM and just assuming it's the cost of doing business. Some are doing a very strict DRM. Some doing an ongoing content revision. I think we don't have a single good answer yet. The interesting thing will be, how do we create enough value that the need for DRM goes away? You know, that sounds better from Ubisoft. It sounds like they're at least realizing that perhaps that having DRM is probably not a good idea, but it also sounds as though they don't want to admit that they want to ditch it completely. They want to find some other solution besides that. And personally, I know that there have been a lot of successful PC game developers and publishers who have never used any kind of DRM setup and have done quite well, thank you very much. And I don't see why can't everybody just follow that same pattern.
Well, it always strikes me as incredibly stupid to include DRM. I mean, it's always cracked, like always. Like there's never ever been a DRM that has been unsuccessful. I mean, I know the Ubisoft Always On DRM wasn't cracked for a couple of weeks around the time of Assassin's Creed 2.
A couple of weeks. It took a couple of weeks to test.
I mean, it's not years. It's a couple of weeks, and pirates can wait that long. But I think the better strategy is no DRM, because then you don't have to go through all the pain, the hassle of having to input the codes and all that rubbish. If you have no DRM, you give the gamers who are paying exactly what they want, which is no hassles, and they want what they pay for. It's like the things with when you buy a DVD in the store and you put it in the DVD player to be shown like 5 minutes of trailers. It's like, well, I paid for this. Why should I see these trailers? I mean, if I pirate it, I don't get that. So they definitely need to take the approach of no DRM, because it doesn't make sense if it's always getting cracked. So I think Ubisoft is sort of hitting on the right thing here, but yeah. Yeah, go on, Larry.
I don't know if I'm necessarily anti-DRM, because I think there's some companies like Valve that does it right. That there's DRM on Steam. It's not intrusive, and Ubisoft, their DRM is horrible. If their servers somehow go offline, you can't play your single player game.
And they did recently.
That's the epitome of bad DRM. So, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I prefer that there's just none. Like The Witcher 2, when that was released, awesome. No DRM. I just installed it. Beautiful. But they do it all wrong. So they definitely need to step it up. And I really hope they do, because I personally think they might have two of the best games this year with Assassin's Creed 3 and the next Far Cry 3, 2 3s. But I'm really looking forward to those games, and I would prefer to play them on the PC. So hopefully they get their act together.
Yeah. The thing about DRM setups like Ubisoft's is that, like you said, they don't really defeat the pirate that's going to crack the DRM anyway. All it does is makes consumers, the honest consumers who want to pay for a game, like you and me, really mad when something goes wrong and they're not able to play their game. To me, they should try to make the consumer experience better, instead of trying to make it, tougher for the pirates, because the pirates are always going to win no matter what. They should just ignore the piracy stuff. I know it's bad when people, download your game free. We're not condoning that at all. I want to make that perfectly clear. You shouldn't do that. But at the same time, the solution is not to make things harder for your real consumers who want to pay for your game, harder for them to, because then they won't pay. Then they won't pay for the game, and then everybody loses. So, so
yeah, they need to do something. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I guess that's all we have to talk about this week. Anybody else want? Did you guys want to bring up anything else?
Well, I might as well talk about my experiences with Silent Hill Downpour. Just
Oh,
briefly.
that's right. Yes, you were
Yes.
really looking forward to playing that because you were a big fan of the previous Silent Hill games.
I am a big
And,
fan of
what would-
Silent Hill.
Yes.
The good thing about Downpour is the atmosphere. I mean, it's really Silent Hill. When you're in the town, it's like impossible to see anything because it's so foggy, and you have to rely heavily on your flashlight. And there was one point where I didn't have a flashlight, and it was really frustrating because I couldn't see anything. And it's that sort of stuff that I'm used to. I did get frightened at some points. Jumped a little bit when stuff like jumped onto my back in game. It's especially good with surround sound. So all of that aspect is good, but the combat is absolute rubbish. I mean, it is so bad that it's sort of like you don't want to run away because that's a bit wimpy. You run away, you're not fighting your enemies, and they've put in the combat system, so I guess you're supposed to fight them, and sometimes you have to. But it's just awful how like the weapons break so easily, and they're all rubbish, and you're terrible at swinging, and the enemies seem to kill you really easily. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, there really is no way to describe it. I mean, GameSpot here, they say the combat feels stiff. I mean, that sort of is not even coming close to how bad it is. So, and also here they mentioned persistent frame rate issues, which, that was a problem on the Xbox 360 as well. So it was sort of all right, I guess, but in hindsight, I wouldn't pay for it. So I think they gave it a 7.5 out of 7.5. So that's probably too high for me, but it's a miss. It's a miss, definitely.
I'm sorry.
I also, another game that's been getting really bad reviews. Maybe we just like to torture ourselves, I guess. But I checked out Resident Evil Operation. What's it called? Raccoon.
Yeah, Operation Raccoon City.
Operation Raccoon City.
Yeah. And that deserves all the bad reviews it's getting. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I really don't even have that much nice to say about it. It's just a pretty bad game. It's, it just did not feel like Resident Evil at all to me. And it's such a shame because it's such a, I think it's overall a pretty good series, and it's an action game 100%. And maybe it picked up and maybe it feels more like Resident Evil down the line, but I'm never going to find out because it just seemed like a pretty generic squad-based shooter, third-person shooter game, and it was kind of unfortunate. And speaking of Silent Hill, I actually have the Silent Hill remakes, the Silent Hill 2 and 3
the
remastered
HD collection, yeah.
Yeah, and I hear that apparently that's not getting the best reviews either. That they're saying somehow the conversion didn't work. I don't see how that's possible, but
if it's an old game and they just remaster the graphics, then surely the gameplay is the same, and the old Silent Hills are good. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not getting the best of reviews, and like you said, I mean, Silent Hill 2 is a great game. How can it not be getting? I don't know. And so I'm actually really curious to check it out and see what all the fuss is about because it's kind of getting slammed critically. It's weird to me.
I don't think I'm ready for another Silent Hill game after playing Downpour. I think I need a bit of a break from those sort of games. Oh, that was not good.
I'm sorry.
It was also only 8 hours long. Surprisingly, it was pretty short, and the puzzles weren't
pretty
very
short.
hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially for a Silent Hill game. Yeah.
They made the puzzles sort of obvious, and in the previous ones, they've been quite difficult, and taking some of my time to solve. But this time, it's like they highlighted things on the ground for you to pick up. No. It did have good voice acting, though, as GameSpot says here. Very good voice acting. I'll give them that one.
So they dumbed it down, basically.
Yeah, it's sort of like they dumbed down the puzzles, but they made the combat ridiculously hard. So who knows what they were thinking.
Yeah,
but 8th in the series,
shame.
I guess. Sort of run out of ideas 8 times you've done a game, so...
Yeah, with that said, that has to be kind of hard,
Yeah.
I mean, Oh well.
All right. Well, anything other topics that you guys want to discuss?
Nope. I don't think there's any games coming out in the next.
There's Kinetic Star Wars coming out next week, which is the big, which I've actually been seeing some commercials on television for.
Yeah, I've seen this as well.
Yeah, so that's coming out next week for the Xbox 360. We'll see how well that does. Other than
I have to say, I tried. I actually purchased Kinect when it first came out, and it didn't work in my living room setup because it has that
Too small or whatever.
It was too small. It was the way my couch was. It just didn't work. So I didn't wind up keeping it. Luckily, I never opened it. I read before I opened it that it wouldn't work, so I never opened it. But I have to say, I was in a Best Buy recently just for something completely different, and they had a Kinect set up with the new Tiger Woods, and I think I might want to pick up a Kinect and make it work somehow because I really liked it with Tiger Woods. Just thought I'd throw that in there. That I never thought I'd get a Kinect, and if any game's going to make me do it, it might be Tiger Woods, which is kind of funny.
Well, there you go. I don't really like golf, so. But again, I don't have a setup suitable for Kinect either, so it's a bit disappointing. But oh well.
Yeah. Star Wars, it's going to sell through the roof though, no matter what. So.
Yeah, especially because then people could be like Star Wars, not really like Star Wars kid, but sort of, swinging their arms around, having a bit of fun in their living room, fighting the Sith and all that. So it definitely will sell, especially with kids.
It will sell.
Yep. We're actually coming into a kind of a fallow period of a new game release for the next few weeks. I don't think there's really anything major coming out, at least what I consider to be major, until the Xbox the Xbox 360 version of Witcher 2 that comes out on April 17th. And then we'll have Prototype 2 coming out on April 24th, which I'm actually looking forward to a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we have a few weeks before that, and then May it really all blows up with a bunch of major games: Max Payne, Diablo 3,
yeah, both on the same day for
Future
those.
Soldier. What's that?
Starhawk on the PC. I mean PS3. The new Ghost Recon. You said. Yep.
Yeah. I've got a upcoming post about the games for the quarter. So check on Neowin sometime shortly, and you can get yourself refreshed on what's coming out. Yeah, it's basically not that many for this quarter actually, but of course the big ones being Diablo 3 and Max Payne 3. So.
Oh yeah.
And both May 15th.
And Prototype 2.
Yeah,
definitely
Prototype 2
for all of those games.
April 27 or something like that.
Yep. I just moved it to the top of my GameFly queue. Thanks for the reminder, because it wasn't on there.
All right. Cool. All right, folks. Well, we will look forward. I think we'll wrap things up today. We appreciate all the people who have listened to the podcast live. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the people who are listening to this via our recorded podcast. And now that Tim has video capability, perhaps next week we'll actually be able to show some actual gameplay for some games that we talk about this time. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah. I showed a few, hopefully I showed a few like web pages and things this episode just to test it out a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so hopefully that worked. I'll have to check the recording later, but yeah, it'd be good to get some video in there next time.
Excellent. Yes, next time we'll definitely try and get some more video in there. And I was actually hoping to have a special guest this week, but unfortunately this person was unable to attend. Hopefully we'll get him at some time in the near future. But but we're definitely looking at getting in some more game developers to join us on the podcast in the near future. So like I said, we're constantly trying to make things better for the podcast. So stick with us. We'll get we're slowly but surely getting things better. But for right now, we really appreciate all you guys listening in. Thank you for joining us. And for Larry and Tim, this is John Callahan, and we will see you at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.